Welcome back to MedTech's Empire State Biomed Focus, our focus on the capital region and the North Country. I'm pleased to have with me now Charlie Hutka from Epic Airway Systems, really an innovative startup company located in part at the BACC in Albany. And we're thrilled to have you, Charlie, with us, and we're interested to know a little bit about Epic Airway Systems. So thank you.
Thanks for having me.
I'm wondering if we could start off, as we do in these conversations, help me understand, Charlie, what's the problem you guys are trying to solve?
Yeah, so we're an airway management company, and what we're trying to do is help make airway management safer for patients, easier to use for non-experts, and safer for healthcare providers that are providing this treatment. So for those that don't know, airway treatment's used to help secure airways and keep patients breathing during emergencies and to keep them sedated during surgeries. And so there's a lot of things that can go wrong during those procedures. And with the current solutions out there in the market, there's a lot of things that do go wrong with those procedures.
Flesh that out a little bit for me, would you? What are kind of the common problems, and where did you guys see an opportunity to step in?
Yeah, so many of the common problems, one, they're very difficult, the current airway management procedures to actually perform. And so you only see about a 60% initial success rate. You know, if you're in the OR, they're pretty easy. You've got relative experts and you're in a very ideal position to perform these procedures. But if you're in the emergency room or emergency department, if you're out in the field, a paramedic and so forth, you're typically not in the ideal situation to provide an airway treatment. And so what we see is there's very difficult to perform. They only have about an initial 60% success rate. And so that means you're trying and retrying these procedures over and over, potentially injuring the patients. And so with those, we see complications up to 40% of the time, things like dental injuries, cardiac events, sometimes even death, which is really rare, but there's also soft tissue damage and other things that can occur. On top of that, because the providers are so close to the patient when they're providing this, they typically put themselves at risk of infectious disease as well. And so there's a lot of different things that can go wrong during this process. And altogether, we've estimated that adds about $8 billion of unnecessary cost to the US healthcare system every year.
So tell me about Epic's solution.
Yeah, so what we've done is we've recognized that the two primary solutions out there, endotracheal tubes and laryngeal masks, they both have their pluses and minuses. But when you combine them together, we can get the best of both solutions. And so if you think of our device as kind of a Swiss Army knife of the endotracheal tube and laryngeal mask together, we're able to get the best of both solutions. And so by combining these two together, we're making it easier to use for non-experts. So not just anesthesiologists, but paramedics, CRNAs, and so forth that are performing these procedures, as well as making them safer for patients. So they're easier to intubate, easier to extubate, which means fewer complications, and also making them safer for healthcare providers. So not reducing their potential risk for infectious disease as they're treating patients throughout there, which all this together reduces the cost of the healthcare system.
And tell me, if you can, what stage is the company at? Where are you guys? What's your trajectory look like?
Yeah, so we're still very early stage at this point. We're hoping to finalize our design by the end of this summer, and then from there move into finalizing our developments, getting through our testing, and then hopefully with an early submission to the FDA around early 2023, maybe mid 2023, depending upon how things go.
And let's back up for a minute. And
Mhm.
I'm curious to know kind of your journey, the journey of your partners at Epic Airway Systems. What you guys, I know a couple of your partners are anesthesiologists. Curious to know, are you serial entrepreneurs? Is this a first time experience for you? What brings you to this space?
Yeah, so I'll start out with myself. I've been in the medical device industry for the better part of the last 20, almost 25 years. Started out back in the day with Johnson and Johnson, then worked at Procter and Gamble, on to Danaher, and then spent about 10 years most recently at Terumo. As I left Terumo, I ended up talking with one of the partners, one of the engineers on the team, that's working on this, and he introduced me to the founders. And as it just turned out, they were kind of working through setting up the business, had done a lot of early work to understand kind of what the challenges were, build up the product to concepts and prototypes, and then figure out that they could build this into a business. And so I don't think any of us that have been in here are really serial entrepreneurs, although each of us have done kind of a different aspect, different things across the entrepreneurial community, all in different ways. And this is the first time that we're ever actually working together on something. But as you mentioned, the two founders are actual anesthesiologists. They're practicing anesthesiologists. And so they understand the problems very closely. And then we've developed a team of other medical device professionals that help us in terms of engineering, manufacturing, quality, and so forth to help kind of bring this to market to that next phase. And so this is going on the better part of about 4 years total, but I think only 1 year that we've had a formal company and the formal team in place to really kind of move this forward.
You spoke very compellingly about kind of the confluence of some different talents in this space, and we often talk, and one of our board members has kind of patented this idea of collisions of value. And I think he's really on to something, that we often grow our companies because of serendipitous connections and creations. Do you have some sense, what is it that allowed you guys to come together? How did these anesthesiologists find this experienced medical device guy? What caused that all to happen?
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting kind of collision of events, as you put it there. The founder, the inventor, he's a clinical anesthesiologist at Albany Med. Him and his wife had developed this new product, new concept for improving airway management. And it just so happened they were working with the accelerator there at Albany Med that introduced them to the other clinical anesthesiologists, that the two of them didn't really know each other before that, but through working with the back at Albany Med, they were connected. And then as they were working together, the Dr. Moses, who is the other anesthesiologist that came in with Dr. Mizuku. So Dr. Moses, he and his brother and I worked together at Terumo. And so they introduced, Dr. Moses introduced me to his brother that brought me into the mix. And then we've all worked with a few other people in the medical device industry that we've then brought into the mix a little bit here and there to kind of get things started on that front.
So we at MedTech, tout the importance of collaboration and connections. And I'm actually was hoping that you might have had a more kind of formal path that brought you there, because we like to think that we can help engineer those things. And at the same time, I recognize really the importance of some of these kind of errant connections. But I'm wondering, let's drill down a little bit into that. I'm curious to know, without you giving away kind of any of your secret sauce or secret talents, somehow you guys came together in a way that worked for you. And I know that many in our audience who are perhaps contemplating starting up a company or have an invention and are really kind of stuck at next stages. And I'm wondering if you can kind of impart some advice on how best to assemble a team that can move your company from ideation to commercialization to actual product sales.
Yeah, that's a great question there, Win. And honestly, there's so many resources available, particularly in the New York region. I think with our direct team, the people that we call quote unquote on the team per se, we've met through kind of serendipity a little bit outside of the Albany back. I think the back was really instrumental in terms of connecting some of the dots there for us. But outside of that, we've had to solicit all kinds of different resources beyond kind of our direct team. And so whether it's manufacturing, we're actually working with MDI based in Glens Falls honestly, I don't remember how we got in connection with them. I think it was actually after we went to the New York Innovation Summit last year, up in Turning Stone, we met a number of different people. Like I met you there, but we also met Nasser Ali. We met Heidi Knobloch. We met Bob Manassir. So a lot of these different groups at like Ignite You, New York, if I can speak here, as well as our Albany Med colleagues. We've also, I'm trying to think, number of the other connections. Fuse Hub was another one that we've used to connect to different things, whether it's been resources, as well as webinars and so forth, to help us identify some of the things that we knew and we needed to find a solution for, as well as helping us understand what things we didn't know and we should look for solutions for. And so there's so many different things. I don't think we've had a very repeatable step-by-step process, but it's good to know so many resources exist in the New York region that can help just about any startup, particularly in the medical device space and life sciences. We found a lot of different resources, and once you connect with one, they're happy to help introduce you to other resources that you may not know of. Like we've talked with RPI about the I-Core program on the regions to help us understand more about customer discovery and help us figure out how to improve our understanding of customer problems out there that we had no idea was even available. And those are resources that can help both financially as well as educationally to help you figure out what are the right paths to go to keep your business moving and minimize risk or de-risk your company and your product along the way.
So you've ticked off, and I'm thrilled to have listened to you talk about them, some really fantastic assets, both regionally in the capital region, but perhaps even more importantly, across New York State, folks and institutions that are looking to help move along folks in the entrepreneurial and technology development space. I'm wondering if you can give us some sense too about the value of being in an accelerator. What did that experience mean for your company?
Yeah, I think it's helped us in a few different spots. One, for sure, they've got connections across different spaces and different places that we had no idea existed. And so a lot of times a problem or an issue comes up, we're like, you know what? Who do we ask? We'll go to our accelerator and say, you know what? We've got a question here. Do you know of any resources we can talk to, anybody we can reach out to? And they're like, well, either we've got these 5 resources we recommend you go to contact, or we don't. We'll go out and research some of them for you and help you get back into it. Other areas come up, like we're looking for investors right now. And so we've been looking at different angel investing groups, and they've helped us put us in contact with different areas to help us understand what's available, who to contact, when and where, how to put those pitches together, all on that front. And then, one of the things we recently won the Ben Daniels pitch competition at Cornell University. We had no idea that even existed until our partners at the back sent us our way. And then we worked with partners at Ignite UNY to help us refine our pitch and make it better, so that we went in there, we actually won the competition. And so those type of things would not have come up without the connections and the resources that we've used at the Bio Accelerator.
So give me a sense now. Here we are in the early summer of 2022. Where would you like to see Epic Airway Systems going? What's on the horizon for the company?
Yeah, I think we've got a lot going on, and we're still early stage. So our ambitions right now are relatively small. We want to get done with our design freeze by the end of early summer. We want to get through our initial set of manufacturing and get our testing done, so that by early 2023 that we can get our submission to the FDA. Our intention there is that by mid to late 2023, we've got FDA approval. We're going through that process, building up devices for first clinical use. And then hopefully in early 2024, all things go well, then we actually launch into the marketplace. And if everything goes well, my vision or my expectation of success here is really around getting repeat customers for our solutions. If we can get it through the FDA, get it in people's hands, they like it, they use our product, they repeat use it, then we know we've got something out there, and we think we can be successful and change lives.
Well, Charlie Hutka, this has been a terrific conversation. Thank you for taking some time from your day. For our audience members who are interested in learning more about Epic Airway Systems, you can find them at epicairwaysystems.com. Reach out to Charlie and his team. I'm sure they'd love to connect. Certainly listening to you today, Charlie, I get a sense that those connections have been really valuable for you. So thank you again for spending some time with us, and we hope to hear more about Epic Airway Systems in the future. Thanks.
Thank you.